So as we stroll into the end of 2022, the camera that I have in my hand is the Lumix GH5. Now I have to be honest and give credit to this camera for what I would consider elevating my video production company. Now I started all with the Lumix GH4, and then a few years back I bought the GH5, and I ended up actually owning two of these. And even in 2022 and moving into 2023, I still plan to use the GH5 for a lot of my video content. Now if that's something that you're interested in, stick around as we do a conversation of why this camera, I believe, is still a beast in 2022 and moving into 2023, coming up next. So thanks for joining, guys. Trey Lowell here with Lowell Productions, and as I mentioned earlier, full conversation about the Lumix GH5. Now, it's 2022, and I currently use my Lumix S5 as my A-cam, but the old faithful GH5 always finds its way into video production, whether it be for YouTube, which I find myself using it quite often as kind of my A-cam, because a lot of times I end up actually talking about my S5, so the filming gets done with the GH5. And one thing that I find that's a huge advantage with the GH5 in controlled environments is that because of the Micro Four Thirds sensor, pulling focus and actually getting a lot more things in focus I find is super easy. Now, current setup that you guys are seeing here is the GH5 with the Mikey 12mm lens. Now, I absolutely love this lens and find myself using it all of the time, especially when it comes to talking head stuff for YouTube. It's big and wide, and for that Micro Four Thirds sensor, you are going to need something that's probably 16mm or wider for, shots where you're talking to camera and you need to be able to go wide and you don't have a massive space. So when it comes to this camera, other things that are a huge bonus and why I find myself using it even in 2022 is going to be, look, it's got 8-bit, it's got 10-bit, it's got unlimited recording times, its slow motion is fantastic, the IBIS is awesome, and we have full HDMI, and as far as like colors go, we do have the option of shooting log. A lot of times I actually just shoot Rec 709, mainly just to speed up the workflow, and I also selfishly just shoot 8-bit because I find as far as colors go and workflow and kind of like the workload on my actual computer, just 8-bit files, I dump them into my editor, and I find that for the most part, it doesn't kill my computer and I can edit extremely fast, and the colors that come out of the camera are natural enough that just with a little bit of tweaking, I can get them to pretty much exactly where I'd like. Now, elephant in the room, I don't think that you can get this powerful of a camera at this particular price. I want to say used nowadays, you can get a GH5 just body only anywhere from like $700 all the way up to $1,000. Now the bonus of that is if you're like myself and you want to go the speed booster route, you could actually just get yourself either a Metabone speed booster to put on your GH5, getting it a little bit closer to full frame, or you could even go with a cheaper version that maybe isn't as good as the Metabones, but it'll still allow you to use all your EF mount full frame glass, which is kind of what I enjoy doing with the GH5, whether it be the Nifty 50 or be the old faithful 24-105. Being able to put it on the on the GH5 is a huge bonus, and I think that is a luxury in regards to going with the Micro Four Thirds system in 2022 can limit you, but if you're willing to go the speed booster route, what I think you're going to be able to do is film with this camera, use it till you max out, and then when you want to go to full frame, at least you already have full frame glass and you're ready to rock and roll. So when it comes to those Micro Four Thirds lenses, if you do decide to buy into those systems, you're going to come and find that a lot of the lenses are very compact, very lightweight, very small. They're very efficient overall. It's just one of those scenarios where you will not be able to take them to the big boy full frame cameras. But I mean, this is a 7.5, stupid wide. This is a, what is this, a 14-42 kit lens. This still today, even when I put it on my GH5, I love it because the autofocus is not as bad as you would think. IBIS is great with this, and this lens is $100. So I can literally destroy it, put it in what environment I want, and not even worry about it. But pivoting back to the GH5, Another thing that I find why I use it so much in 2022 and moving forward is that it matches extremely well with my S5. Now, of course, with my S5, gonna get a little bit more shallow depth of field, but if I go ahead and drop on a piece of glass that maybe has a lower f-stop, something like this, I wanna say this is an f1.8 or 1.7, it's a 25 millimeter prime. And for instance, if I wanna get more shallow depth of field, I would put this on the GH5. And as far as looks goes, most people would not be able to tell the difference. As long as you get the white balance right, shooting the correct color profiles, matching is pretty seamless. And that is a huge bonus of why I still think this is a camera to look at in 2022 and moving forward. Other things that I think a lot of people find that's just so useful and all around with the GH5 is this is basically a cinema camera, and if you really understand how to use this camera, whether it be peaking, whether it be waveforms, there is just an abundance of things that you could take advantage of in regards to the GH5, the different codecs, all of that. And it's, you know, for a camera that I want to say is coming up on 5 or 6 years old, it still blows my mind all the time, the footage that comes out of this. So yeah, GH5. Would I ever take this out over my S5? I would for YouTube. But anything where money's on the line, I'm going to go with my S5. I like the look, I like the feel, I love the full frame. IBIS is just as equivalent as this. And so to answer that question, I would go with the S5 over the GH5. But for those that are really looking to save some money, get a what I would consider prosumer, if not pro level camera for under $1,000, the GH5 in 2022 and 2023 is going to be it. And I guess the one thing I would knock the GH5 for in 2022 and why I ended up buying another camera was the low light capabilities. Anything I felt like that I went over ISO 800 on this, grain was implemented into the shot. And it wasn't anything that ever destroyed the shot. It was just footage where I felt like, I've used Sony's, I've used the Canons, and of course now I've used the S5. And when it comes to low light situations, the S5 is going to give you a huge advantage in regards to grain and scenarios that you can go into. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier, get yourself a lens with a nice low aperture and you can combat a lot of that. And even with the correct color grading and profiles and things of that nature, you're still just gonna get a phenomenal image out of the GH5. So comments, questions, concerns, please drop them below. You know, a lot of you guys out there discovered me talking about the GH5 and I've kind of evolved into the S5. But if you have any questions or you just think I'm blowing smoke up people's bums, you could drop that comment in below. Let's have a discussion and let's talk cameras. But hey guys, as always, it's Trey Lowell with Lowell Productions. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like the content we keep creating on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And occasionally, I get my tongue tied when I'm talking this fast, so maybe I should just slow it down a little bit.